I never imagined that my own scandal would end up being sent straight to my inbox. I forced myself to suppress the anger boiling inside me and was about to call Chloe to demand an explanation. She showed up at my office door holding a bouquet of flowers. I immediately confronted her about the photos, yet to my shock, she calmly indicated that she liked me. First, I assumed it must be about money and thought perhaps the payment hadn't been enough. After all, when I originally hired Chloe to test my husband's loyalty, I'd been willing to pay a high price just to find out the truth. However, through Chloe's repeated descriptions that my husband wasn't exactly the faithful man I thought he was, since the goal seemed to have been achieved, I decided it was time to end my arrangement with Chloe. What I didn't expect, however, was that the woman I had hired had developed inappropriate feelings for me. Each time Chloe reported on my husband's situation, her own mindset quietly changed. Because I had hired her, I paid a certain amount of attention to her, but she misinterpreted that attention as love. Then that night of intimacy shattered every boundary between us, gradually turned her affection into possessiveness. A few days later, Chloe called and falsely claimed that my husband had been constantly bothering her, and hearing that nearly left me breathless. After hanging up, an idea suddenly formed in my mind. I decided to arrange for Chloe and my husband to meet at a bar so they could confront each other face to face. But the moment Chloe saw my husband, she panicked and tried to leave, while my husband's expression was filled with confusion and unfamiliarity. That was the moment I finally realized that everything Chloe had told me, including the supposed story of my husband betraying me. When my husband questioned me, I had no idea how to respond, and only when he angrily prepared to leave did I run after him and confess the whole story. As he listened, I admitted that I had been afraid that I was already entering middle age, afraid that I might no longer be attractive, and afraid that someone else might take him away from me. My husband didn't abandon me because of it, since he was usually so busy with work and rarely had time to spend with me. All he felt in that moment was bitterness and guilt. We finally laid out all the uneasiness in our hearts and resolved it together, thinking everything had finally settled down. What I didn't expect was that Chloe's possessiveness had already spiraled out of control. She had even started approaching my son, that crossed a line I could never tolerate. The anger and regret I had been holding in for days exploded all at once. I lashed out at her and made it clear that she needed to get out of my life, because I refused to be dragged further into this ridiculous mess and would never allow her to hurt my family. But by then, she had already been completely consumed by her obsession. She pressed a hairpin against my throat, and I was terrified. At that moment, I noticed my son in the distance, so what I didn't expect was that she lost her. Eventually, my life returned to peace, but I still keep the hairpin Chloe left behind, because that accident is a sin I will carry with me for the rest of my life.